today we've got a lot of great things ready for you. So to kick this off, we have each year, as you all know, we always bring somebody in, as a guest speaker. And this year, it's a special individual we've got. Amanda Rigsby, the transportation director with Asheville City Schools in North Carolina. Her and I kind of grew up in the business together in the state, and we've done a lot together over the years through routing and just working together. But she has been instrumental there in the district. She is a local, born and raised Buncombe County girl. Who has been there, and she just recently became a grandma, so really enjoying it. But Amanda has a special story that she's going to share with everyone today. With what her and her phenomenal team, I have to call kudos out to them. They have really just done a lot. They may be a small operation, but don't let that fool you. They are packed full of so many awesome things they have done with BusPlanner over the years. So, Amanda, tell us your story and about what you've done with BusPlanner, and then I know you're going to spend some time with the event with Hurricane Helene. So, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I met Binford. I didn't meet him, talked to him for the first time in 2018, and we wanted to switch to BusPlanner at that time. And we were unable to do it, but we kept it in the back of our minds, and here we are today. So very, very pleased with the product and with all the support. Thank you for having me. Yeah, Binford is correct. I am a homegrown girl. Started driving when I was 16 years old at the local high school here, and have been in the transportation industry quite a while now. I just want to share some things that we went through as a district. We are tiny, but I say we're mighty. Being in Asheville, the district itself, there's a lot of extra requirements that local government puts on our little district for a lot of different things. So, and we saw this during Hurricane Helene and school transportation. We're going to talk about logistics, recovery, and lessons learned from Asheville, North Carolina, and how transportation became both a service and a signal in community recovery. So in Western North Carolina, we're used to making weather decisions. We've made them twice this week and last week. We make cold weather decisions all the time. But as I put in here, our system is built around the winter, so the snow and the ice and road temps. So Hurricane Helene introduced itself in a different kind of way, one that challenged access, communications, staffing, and infrastructure more than closures decisions. This time we weren't deciding on whether to open like we did this morning and yesterday. We were deciding whether neighborhoods still existed on our routing maps. So the tropical impacts in a winter planned system, we didn't know what we were doing. I mean, I'll just be real. This was like, we had no idea what we were doing. We had heavy rain, wind, flood, we had mudslides, and I know you all heard it. You heard it. We literally lost communities due to mudslides. In our own district, one of our teachers at the high school lost his entire family. And then our payroll specialist, she lost her aunt and uncle in the same community called Craigtown. It's a mountain valley, and the wash from the water just took the trees and everything in its path. We had multi-day infrastructure disruptions, and that's really not even accurate. Even though my impact, because I was a little further northwest, was not as bad. I was 14 days without power, and most of my office mates that were even closer into Asheville were that much as well. Community displacement and access issues were huge for us, and then emergency coordination outside the normal K-12 scope. What was that? What is that? We had no idea. What is that? I mean, we know how to make the cold weather calls, but we didn't know how to make a call for this type of flooding that also included massive wind damage, billions of dollars lost in the forestry industry, lives lost, homes, So there again, we plan for the winter and we plan for remote learning days. We know how to do that. We're good at that. But we don't plan for bridges disappearing or our families relocating midweek, people dying and unaccounted for. We didn't plan for non-communication, which was huge. We didn't plan for no food. We didn't plan to stand in lines. And we felt like we were in survival mode. And I know when I'm speaking this morning, I'm speaking to people who are very familiar with hurricanes. And when I look at who all in Florida and Georgia uses the BusPlanner systems, I can see that we have a lot of people. Oh, we know what a hurricane. We have had hurricanes. I think the big difference for the mountains was we had a hurricane, landslide, tornadic activity, and flooding all in the same event. And to give you a little idea of what that looked like, here was our 3-day rain totals. And here's Asheville right here. There's us, this little blip. And we had right here in this area 22.4 inches of rain. It started raining in the days prior. And then by the time it ended on Friday morning, that's what we had ended up with, was 22.4 inches of rain. And so right there we sit. I wanted to show you the transportation impact when the roads don't match the routes any longer. We had road washouts and debris, bridge and culvert failures, isolated pockets that were inaccessible, fuel supply challenges, signal and power outages. And then the GIS became the mission. Routing wasn't optimization. It was feasibility at this point. We were rebuilding a network, not scheduling a school day. And here's where I have to stop and give kudos to Binford Sloan and to Robert Shanks, because I sat in my office when I finally got in with my hand in my head thinking, what am I going to do? How in the name of God am I going to figure out how to get these buses when we get back up in these air? I don't even know. What am I going to do? I couldn't get in touch with my team. We were still separated by a lack of telephone service. When you got into Asheville, they had spots up, so you were able to get some cell service and email, and it was a little bit better, but I didn't know what to do. And I got a call from Binford, and I swear he's a mountain boy at heart. I don't know why he lives down east, but he said to me, "Are you okay? Can we do anything? We're here for you. We've got you." Those are the words that stuck out to me, and we're going to help you get through this. And I'm thinking, this is a company that the competitors have said to me in my ear before I got there, "Oh, no, you're not going to get any support from BusPlanner. They're going to leave you out to dry." Totally not been the case. Prior to Helene, it wasn't the case. And in this moment, it wasn't the case. They said, "What do you need? What can we do? Will you let us help you? We can show us what you need to move. What do we need? What's accessible? What's not accessible?" And so then it became a matter of getting into what roads with DOT were open and getting those over. Binford facilitated it with Robert. And let me tell you, when they said we are healed here, these are the quotes that I wrote on my little paper when I was in despair. "We are here with you and we'll help you get through this." That they did. And they took over my routing, which was very hard because I'm a router. That's my first love, is routing. So I was like, I have to let go of this. And I knew I did, but that they had me. They had our district, and they had us in a time when, honest, I was like, I don't know what we're going to do. So that encouragement, and I wanted, if we didn't get to anything else today, that to me is the most important thing. If a company like BusPlanner cares about their people this much, what does the product do? If the people do this, then what does the product do? And I just felt like I needed to really spend some time and thanks, because I've not had that opportunity, to Binford, to Robert Shanks, and to BusPlanner as a whole, and the people then that have come on after that. The Cynthia, who's helped me tremendously, and learning all the new people on the customer success team. So I want to thank you. If you'll see the pictures I've added, because you can it gets really heavy when you look at them. I've highlighted a little bit in these pictures. These are my roads that are gone. And we are under, that's about 30 feet of water right there that you can see. Here's the river over here. And you can see how far the river came into these areas. This is one of our major roads that we travel to and from. That was gone. And then this far left photo shows Biltmore Village, that we accessed this bridge. And then our high school is right here in this red area. So you can see we were cut off. All these roads are gone. The river just took it away. I'll stop right there if anybody has anything that they want to ask so far about any of that before we go to what we did in operational shifts.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm Cinjola Townsend from Washington, D.C., D.C. School Connect. Did it impact your vehicles, or was just the fact that you had to try to figure out how to move your vehicles in that area? Was any damage to your vehicles?
We did not have damage,
Okay.
nor did our neighboring school district, because, well, I say damage. I had some pictures. We had some trees fall on some buses, but it didn't do enough damage to put them out of commission. So did some of the other schools. Tree failure was the biggest part for us because most of our lots are higher above the river. In the mountains, the river is the divide, and in order to get anywhere, you have to cross the river. And those of you who've been in Asheville, a lot of you have, you'll know you have to cross the river to get to either side of town. So the river was what totally shut us down. We couldn't get anywhere. So we did not lose vehicles in this particular storm, thankfully.
Another one, when BusPlanner came in and they took over the routing part, how did they do that? Did they like close the roads, restrict roads and things of that nature?
We had a list of roads. They sat with me. We went through a lot. We moved stops up to main roads.
Okay.
So all I had to do was sit there like we're in this now, and they did the work with me right there with them. And I was directing them. I was actually being able to direct them instead of doing the work. I was able to sit back and, we're all dealing with loss, and there was a lot of trauma in the areas that, we grew up in. They're not the same anymore, and friends that have lost life. So we were still trying to work at the same time. And so when they came in, they took our route, our map, and we just went route by route, and we were able to, I would say, oh yeah, we need to bring it down to this road. And they were doing the work, and I'm just sitting back. That was one less stress. They were very hands-on, one-on-one. They touched every route I had, every bus, every stop, anything I had. And we built a database, and we called it the 2425 EM emergency system database, and it's still in there today if I ever have to go back. Mostly what we did was we took a lot of our stops and we just moved them up to main roads during that time.
Okay.
Which can be a beast. We're a very tiny department, so one person doing that's a lot of work. We could start on that in February and have it done, if it was one person. But we were talking about we're going to open up, in a month, and there's no way you can get all that work done in a month. What we were looking at that time, and it was constantly shifting. Everything's shifting because then when the water receded, you realized that there was no longer a road. So then that road had to completely go away, and what you have planned, you changed again. We had to change stops where the houses were gone. And you were constantly, for a month, we were looking at where kids were placed, where roads that we thought were still there, gone. Some roads we thought were gone were still there. So it was constant volleying back and forth.
Wow, thank you for that feedback. That's a powerful synergetic partnership Wow, thank you.
Thank you so much for your questions, Sinjola. I really appreciate you jumping in. We do have a couple more in the chat, Amanda, and thank you again for, honestly, I got emotional hearing about this, and thank you so much. So Chris had a question here. What about drivers wanting or being able to get work?
That's a great question. And I'll probably touch on that here in a minute, but I'll go ahead and answer that. My team was trying to get in touch with me and could not. And there was a little bit of panic I've learned after the fact. So just so happens, someone I know that lives near me had gotten a Starlink, and they were able to reach out to them, and they were able to reach out to me, come to my house, like, your team is trying, are you okay? They're trying to find you. We had been out, but there was no cell service. You couldn't. I had to try to get across town to my parents, and we had to cut our way through to get to them. And they're in their 80s, and so about 3 days after the storm, because the storm knocked out all communication towers, T-Mobile came in and placed a huge hotspot, I call it, at our middle school, which is Central Asheville. And we were able to then start getting some telecommunications going and reach each other. Our two-way radios didn't work because they're on digital cellular service, so we didn't have access to those. But then finally you could, and then some days you couldn't. My team will tell you, my team is on here. Some days we just could not get cell service. You would send a text or try to make a call, and it was just unavailable. So once we got that, the drivers knew. They came. We had a hub at that time, and the drivers started showing up to the hub. And I knew if I was here, and that's what happened. And then they just started getting people the drivers that they knew to come over, and then we started developing a team, and then we were able to start reaching out to people. People just started showing up once they were able to get out and access where we were located at that time. I'm not sure that if that exactly what that person, if I answered that in totality.
Yeah, I think that definitely answered. Thank you so much, Amanda. Really appreciate it. I think you can jump back in if you'd like.
Sure.
Thank you so much again. Really appreciate it.
So our operational shifts were access first and movement second. We needed coordination with emergency management and public works. Situational awareness, and that's my big thing. My team will tell you, I tell my drivers all the time, you've got to have situational awareness when driving the big yellow bus. And we had to have situational awareness in this as a core function. Manual dispatch, because the systems had failed, and the staffing and safety decisions in real time. And so all those little bullets there was we had to access first what were the needs, where were we going to be needed, where we're going, who are we serving, what's going on. And so we coordinated with emergency management and public works. They needed help with, and we're going old school at this point. We're going totally around to where, because we know where everybody's at. We had a station at our high school where the flying helicopters were landing. So we knew we had a emergency management set up there. And we also had one set up at our middle school. So we knew where to go to get with the right people. And then our people, when we would get together, then we got our buses, we loaded them up, loaded up people, our staff, and then we took off to certain areas, which were some of the local community centers and our schools, because we had learned from public works, not from public works, but like from some of the agencies that worked with emergency management, that they needed help getting food. That food, I never dreamed in a million years that I would need to ask somebody for food. And then there were people that could not access it in our public housing areas because there's a lot of elderly people, a lot of people without vehicles that use transit. And we dispatched into those areas. We took buses full of food, and we did this for days on end. Every day we were there in the parking lots loading food up every day by 9 o'clock, and we delivered food between 12 and 4 every afternoon. We did it every day, 7 days a week for the whole month of October until we started going back to school. Transportation is often treated as a logistics function during disasters, but it becomes an assessment function, and you have to assess, what can we do with the yellow bus? Who do we need to coordinate with? We had none of that because there again, I'll go back to the first couple of slides. We know how to do things in the winter. We do not know how. We do now how to do things in what we just experienced. So the human impact was to our students and families was displacement, housing transitions, temporary addresses, special needs students that needed support. And then we are dealing with an enormous amount in McKinney-Vento today that we didn't have. We had a few prior that was manageable, and I'm dealing with it now. It's almost not manageable. There's so many, but there's a lot of vulnerabilities. So transportation is the first place inequity shows up during a crisis because access is not evenly distributed. And I learned that during this particular crisis. Now, I did add some pictures. These, again, are all in my district. And the river kind of cuts through the middle of it. As you can see, the one in the middle here, we was completely underwater. The water was up to this first floor here in this middle picture. There's also on the first picture here, if you're looking at you for left, this is one of our roads, and this tiny little river, which is receded there, did all this damage, and the water was way up here and all over the roads, the destruction, unreal. And then the far right, we do have the railroad tracks here, and right here is the road, and it was totally gone. And this is our main crossover, and we have a couple more. So the recovery pivot was the bus moment, as I call it, when the bus is returned, because visibility matters. It's a safety signal to the community. It's a return to routine for students, and the routine, not that they're going back to school, but that they're seeing the yellow bus. Even the kids that don't ride the yellow bus are seeing the yellow bus, which signaled routine. It's a confidence in district recovery. And I love the yellow bus. Transportation is as a symbol, not just a service. The symbol of that big yellow bus. So once the storm passed, recovery wasn't just about clearing the debris. It was about confidence. The families needed a sign that routines were coming back. And in our community, that sign was the school bus, because people recognize the big yellow bus. It's steady, it's familiar. And when our buses and drivers started rolling back into neighborhoods, families felt safe. I heard it. They told me. They were excited. Students understood that their world was coming back. They cut off from their PlayStations and their social media and all the things. And so that was a signal when they saw us starting to roll in. And I will say this, that even, the parents that get them, in your business every day or blowing you up or whatever they're doing, you can't do nothing right. Those very parents, when they saw the yellow bus, were totally different, which led me to this thought of how much confidence and strength the yellow bus carries. So transportation.
Amanda, sorry, really quickly, we on this, and this is amazing. It really seems like the community came together. We have two questions here about how long did the cleanup take, and how long did it take students to get back to school and get back to their regular schedules?
Good questions. So the cleanup is still cleaning up. We're 18 months out, 17 months out. And you come to Asheville and you still see, we pass it every day. So we're still in recovery. The students did not come back to school until we tried to come back on the 28th of October. We finally got back into a more of a normal rhythm the first week of November. So it was a good 31 plus days. And we were pushing it then because we did not have water. But we were just trying to get kids back so they could be fed and situations for our students were not good, so we needed to get kids back into school. And so that was the goal for us and our Buncombe County itself, which we sit right in the middle of. So we worked together very collaboratively with them to ensure that our kids could get back to school. We still have pallets upon pallets upon pallets of water. We still have those big white tanks full of water. The schools still have them because that's how we were flushing toilets, and that's what the kids were drinking, and that's how the kitchens were cooking. So we really didn't we got water back in December, right before Christmas, but people were still hesitant to use the water. And so by spring of 2025, it was becoming, I guess, what would appear to most people as normal use. So it took the good 6 months to get all those things up and going.
Wow. Thank you so much. Allison here has a question. Once routing transitioned back from BusPlanner to your team, what did that timeline and handoff process look like?
Oh gosh, 2 weeks. Yeah. It was, I think, 14 days for us. I've got all that written down in a journal somewhere, but I started working with Binford and Robert the first week of October, late first week of October. By the second week, we circled back to dig into the routes, and by the third week, we were pretty sure of what we were doing and where it was going, because then we were getting ready to go into the fourth and fifth week of being out of school, and kids were coming back. So, and communications were coming on board, getting back up. And so we needed to let parents know your stop's now been moved to here. And then we used the BusPlanner email subscription, and we used our Parent Square and those types of things to let parents know, check your BusPlanner app, check your BusPlanner email. And we also learned at that time a lot of parents had opted out and they needed to opt back in. That was a little bit of a learning curve for us, but that's how that worked. So
thank you.
So coordination and communication, which goes along with what I did, the segues from the last slide, that it takes more than just a dispatcher. It took emergency management coordination. They were telling us what we could and couldn't do. DOT, I was in touch with them. It's important that you have contacts with your DOT and Public Works. I mean, you need that person like I have. You build a relationship with, and say, you can call them up and say, what is going on? I have a relationship, and so does the director in Buncombe County, with the DOT road crew supervisor for our region. And it's imperative that you build those types of relationships, that those DOT supervisors will be the ones to ask a lot of the questions, and they're great what they do. So if you can get those contacts. Central office was huge. Coordination and communication, because they have a way of thinking. I don't ever, somebody says you're central office, I'm always like, no, I'm not central office, I'm operations. But central office has a way of thinking, because you have your finance and you have your assistant superintendents and your superintendents. You have all those people in that world that have one way of thinking. And then you have our world, which is boots on the ground world. We're out there doing all the things. And so that coordination and communication with them is vital. Utilities and fuel vendors. We were fortunate that Buncombe County Schools manages our fuel, and they were able to fuel us. And I was in contact with their director, and he was fueling emergency management trucks and all that. So we were very fortunate to be able to have that. Same with the mechanics and shop. Same type of relationship. Those of you that don't know, Asheville City is housed under Buncombe County Schools, and they take care of my buses as far as maintenance and fueling and all those things. We don't have a separate garage, although I worked out in that world for many, many years. I'm very familiar with operations with the garage. And then the parent messaging, which is important. And during Helene, transportation became a communication center. There we were. We could take papers from T-Mobile. Hey, we've got this place over at Asheville Middle School. We could take papers from emergency management. We could deliver a lot more than just the food. We delivered resources by paper that helped people. T-Mobile had these packs with batteries and things, and we could take those out as well. So it wasn't just food and toilet paper and baby supplies and diapers. It was also information that we could deliver to communities. So families didn't ask about instruction during that time. They were not worried about when their kid was coming back. They were still in shock. They just asked if we could get to their neighborhood. And so you'd have one family member from one neighborhood say, hey, I just heard from this neighborhood and there's a lot of elderly people. Is there a way that you can get to them? And then you work with all your people above that, your emergency management coordination being your top one, because they're going to tell you if you can and can't go somewhere. And you work with them and build a plan based on that. What worked? Our GIS for damage mapping and rerouting worked with BusPlanner. Absolutely 110%. Cannot say enough about that. And what a load that took off of our department. Driver route intelligence, we couldn't rely on technology. So we relied on area knowledge. So it's very important that your drivers get out and drive your entire route service area. I encourage my drivers, like, they need to know the whole area, because God forbid anybody else has to go through something like this. If you've got drivers that are familiar with the area, that sure helps when you're sending out buses to do things that are out of the norm. We go back to the mechanic resiliency and fueling plans. We know that worked, and we now have a better process for that. That really worked because Buncombe County Garage has 3 fuel trucks, and we knew where they were. We know where they'll be in the next storm, and we know to sit tight, they'll get to us. So that was our cross-agency cooperation with the Buncombe County Schools. What broke and what we learned. The stress test findings. We had some fuel supply redundancy. We did have that. We did not have staff reporting rules, which we're still trying to figure out how you do that with not communication. Emergency pay clarity. We now have a policy that got voted on last month. Excuse me. We now have emergency pay. So if I call my drivers in, and they did get paid for this, by the way, but if I call them in again for something, there is now a set stipend that they get above and beyond their regular pay. Backup communications, radios versus cell phone. Neither one of those worked for us in the moment because our radios were on cell towers. So you can imagine. Contract support gaps. We learned that after the fact. We had some support gaps, such as little things in my world, like contract transportation, like EverDriven. They didn't do anything wrong. We just had some gaps because we couldn't get to them, and what could they do? Some things we've since worked out. Data reporting for reimbursement. Oh my gosh, excuse me. I had no idea the amount of data I needed to keep up with for reimbursement. So my suggestion is start you a spreadsheet and just put it in your Google or whatever you use for emergency data reporting reimbursement, and keep up with absolutely everything you spend. If you spend it on the neighboring district, anything you spend, keep up with that, because we learned through FEMA we could have got reimbursements for some things if we'd have had some of the documentation. I kept up with driver's hours, which was a beast. Our board voted to pay them. Some of those things are just really important. Now, keep you a data sheet somewhere with all your drivers so you can keep up with the pay, keep up with all your reimbursements. The fuel is huge. So a lot of you that do have that fuel access, that's great. But those of us who don't, make sure that you keep up with that, because there is reimbursement opportunities, and then the mutual aid opportunities. The implications that this wasn't a weather call is the storm equaled infrastructure. The storm wasn't your regular thunderstorm or a snowstorm. It damaged infrastructure. Recovery timeline also equals instructional time. So the amount of time it takes us to recover can, of course, impact the instructional timeline for students. Student stability matters, and that goes back to the yellow bus. Yellow bus is a stability in most of our students' lives. Transportation is a critical infrastructure, and I think we're so busy, and we know our job is to carry students from home to school and school to home, that we don't realize that we are needed much more beyond that. We are called to go beyond that. And emergency management plans should include pupil transportation explicitly. And we have worked on that with our local emergency management operations to have a plan for that. And we're still working on that. And I don't have all that, believe it or not. Still, a lot of this stuff is still a work in progress. The takeaways, I didn't have the new BusPlanner logo when I did this slide, but the takeaways is BusPlanner. And this isn't an advertisement for BusPlanner. This is a testament to BusPlanner. I'll make that very clear. It's a testament to what they did, but what they can do and what they're able to do. So what we learned is transportation is a resilience function. Visibility of buses equals community signals. Access is not guaranteed for all students post-disaster, and we needed to work on that. And relationships matter pre-storm. I talked about the relationships, my relationship with BusPlanner, my relationship with the DOT and with Buncombe County Garage. Those are huge, huge. And you don't build capacity during an event. That's not where you're going to build your capacity and how you reveal what you're able to do during that event. And my pictures down here are the before and after. This is the river. There's 4 pictures in this shot from the Citizen Times, the disaster of the river. And you can see how high the water rose and what it looks like today. This is the what we call tobacco warehouse, and it was a huge antique mall. The water rose above it, washed it out, and they've rebuilt it. Of course, the yellow bus right in the middle center of it all. And 6 months later, smiling faces. That was at our bus rodeo that we were able to have.
So, Amanda, I want to say that this is, you and I have talked about this a lot, and it still is a very powerful story. And something that will resonate a very long time. And I just want to say that what we did as a company is what we do is just being good neighbors, right? That's what this was about. We did very little for you. I want everybody to know that. We really didn't do a lot. The true heroes are the people there in the Asheville City and Buncombe County community. You guys are the heroes, right? And just for us to be able to partner with you guys, that's what makes this work. And so for wherever you are, whether, and you districts in Florida, we have helped you guys over the years. We will continue to do this. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you live, that's our mission. Okay. Whether it's today, 5 years from now, that's what this is about. We're a family. Right. And so it just thank you for everything that you all did to get your community back up. And we really appreciate that for all of us here. Thank you.
Thank you.
So well said. Amanda, what a powerful and emotional story. Thanks so much for sharing that. And to Binford's point, like we're here to help, but it's you and the team there that's doing all the real work. What a powerful story. I have no more words for it, but really appreciate you sharing it.
Thank you for doing this. I know it's still raw sometimes for you, so thank you.